Dr. Yamina, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. It looks like you're still on mute.
Okay. Thank you, Zahra. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Sorry, just make sure that the live streaming is on. So last week, we started the 8th word from the first volume of the Risale-i-Nur by Imam Badi'u Zaman Sa'id al-Nursi. And before that, we had studied the 33rd word, which was composed of 33 windows onto knowledge of God through the signs in the creation within ourselves. And before that, we also went through the 6th word. So this is the 8th word, and it starts with 2 passages from the Quran, one from Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 255, where it says, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. God, so who is God? There is no deity, no God. It means there is nothing, no deity, nothing worth worshipping, nothing worth adoring, nothing worth expecting help from, except He. And who is He? He's the ever-living, the self-subsistent. Al-Qayyum is, He is subsistent in Himself, He doesn't need anyone, and also He is the one who makes everything, gives life and existence to everything. And the second passage is from Ali Imran, ayah 19, Inna ad-deena inda Allah al-Islam. Truly, deen, the religion, the way of life, deen also means the way of life, before God, it means for God, the way of living is Islam, is surrender. Islam means surrender. So surrendering to the will of God, to the will of the ever-living, self-subsistent, the only God, the only creator, the only maker, the only sustainer, is the way to live. And the order here is significant because there is no way we can totally be at peace and surrender to this reality and live in surrender to divine will totally, without any doubt, without any questioning. We can only do that when we know for sure, or to the extent that we confirm, witness and experience and confirm that truly there is nothing worth worshiping, there is nothing that deserves to worship or to ask help from, except God, who is the ever-living, the living, the one who gives life and death, and the self-subsistent. It is to the extent that we experience this truth, this reality, and that we testify to it, we make shahada, that we will, inshallah, live in surrender to this ever-living, self-subsistent sustainer, our maker, our creator, who sustains us here and now and all the time, not only ourselves, but everything that exists. And so this starts with a parable. And of course, it's this parable is like a kind of preliminary comparison between living with Iman, with belief in God, the ever-living, the self-subsistent, and surrendering to Him alone, and not living with that knowing, with that belief. So it is really an invitation to ponder over these two ways of life, these two ways of being in the world. It's an invitation to weigh down the differences. Now, how to live when in the 33rd world, we were taught how to look at the world with belief as signs, as creations of God that testify to their maker and creator, and that help us through their glorifications, help us also be part of those glorification and glorify God and praise Him. Here it's an introduction. And once we internalize, we live with the belief way of being as believers, then we will experience the world in the way it's described in the 33rd world and in the 6th world. And then what happens is something that is described in other parts of this tafsir, the Risale in Nur. So just so we know that here the parable is an introduction to invite us to consider these two ways of life and their great differences and make a choice. And once we make a choice, we need to renew our intention, renew that choice, and try to stick to it. So whenever we deviate from there, it will be because we intend to renew day in, day out that intention. We will catch ourselves and come back until living as a believer, living in surrender becomes so familiar to us, and the other ways of living in ghafla, in heedlessness, in mindlessness become more and more unfamiliar, inshallah. So from the beginning, we were told if you want to understand this world that we live in and human spirit within this world, because we're really, we're a spirit in physical being, physical body. And the nature and the value of religion, of this message of the Quran, and how we are taught to live, and how the world is a prison if there is no true religion, if there is no truth. And that without religion, human being becomes the most miserable of creatures. And that it is, oh God, and there is no God but God, La ilaha illallah, that solves this world's talisman, the world's mystery, and the meaning and the purpose of life. Because life seems like, because we gave name to all kinds of situations and all kinds of things, it seems like we've had it figured out. We even have so many plans for the future, what to do. But in fact, if we pause and reflect, we don't know the meaning of this life, because all our plans and wishes and for tomorrow are based on assumptions that there will be a tomorrow. But in fact, there is no warranty that there even will be a tomorrow, or at least a tomorrow for me. I may not be here. There is death, and transience is a reality of life that we seldom take into consideration. And it's so foolish because it is a main reality of life. And when we take it into consideration, then it makes us question everything, because then what is good and what is bad becomes all confused, and all our hopes for the future, if there is no true future, what are we living for? So it is then that we start asking the true meaningful questions, the existential questions of what is the meaning of this world that is so transient, that is flowing, and in fact there is only the now, because an hour before is not here, an hour later is not here, and that hour we can minimize it until there is a small interval of the now, and there is only this now. So what are we talking about when we're talking about life and our goals, and what is the meaning of this life? What are we here for? We start asking questions, and it is important to feel the need to know the answer to those questions, because it is only then that we feel the need for guidance. Otherwise, we may have the Quran there, we may even study it, but we won't have an organic, living relationship with it, because it doesn't seem to fulfill a living need within me right here and now. But when we have those momentous, those significant existential questions, then we're looking for a source of guidance, something, someone, whoever brought us here, whoever is sustaining our life here must speak, and he speaks, and he has spoken through the creation and through the Quran. And it's through the Quran that we know that the creation is meaningful and speaks to us. And of course, with those questions come when we are in a state of humility. When we are in a state of humility, remember the two brothers here and in the sixth word, one is arrogant, one is arrogant and self-conceited, living in a delusion that it's my life, I do whatever I want, but it's not true. Where is my life if I have no control over it? If I can have no say over it? If my fingernails grow at their own speed, I can only cut them, but I can't control them. I can't control my breathing, and I have not decided when to come into existence, and I have no say on when I will leave this world. So we start becoming more and more humble, and we realize that something is taking care of our life and sustaining us. So our perception of ourselves and the world starts changing. As one of the brothers, remember there are two brothers here, and one of the brothers is the serious looking, happy, fortunate, wise, and the other one is foolish and conceited, and we know that both of them in the beginning, they are told that there are two ways, and these two ways are not two paths in two different spaces, but they are actually, we realize that they are in the same place, but they have totally different attitudes. One follows the right path, and the other one follows the left path. On the right path, one is compelled to comply with the law and order, but within the relative hardship of following the law and the order, there is security and happiness. Whereas on the left hand, the left path, there is freedom, no restraint, no rule, no order. But because there is no rule, no order, within that freedom, there is danger and wretchedness, and the choice is ours. And the example that came to my mind was like driving. There are rules for driving, but those rules are there. Someone may say, why are there so many rules? Like, why shouldn't I just go around wherever I want? Well, because that's the way you secure the safety of the drivers, your safety and other people's safety. So it has wisdom and compassion in it. It's not just rule for rule, just for limiting people. And then we were told, oh, my lazy soul and oh, my imaginary friend, come. So there were a description of the journey of the two people, and we understand that they came across the same situations, but they had totally different attitudes, totally different perceptions, and therefore the outcome was totally different too. So we start at the paragraph that says, oh, my lazy soul. I think we went through some of it last week. And oh, my imaginary friend, come, let us compare the position of these two brothers so that we can see how good comes of good and evil comes of evil. It must be in the next page. Yeah, so let us find out. So next page, inshallah. And we are told, you can see how good comes of good and evil comes of evil. Let us find out. Look, the unhappy traveler, so the self-conceited, the arrogant, the foolish one, who chose freedom without order, but although he was told that there is danger and wretchedness in that left road, the unhappy traveler on the left road is all the time trembling with fear, waiting to enter the dragon's mouth, while the fortunate one, the dragon's mouth, we will see that it is the grave. So there is always that fear of any time could be the end. Deep down, this is a fear that everyone feels. And it's only, that's why we get traumatized and shocked when we witness the death of someone else or a human being or even a pet or something, because it reminds us of that reality. Unless we find the cure for this with belief in God and the hereafter. So the unhappy one on the left road is all the time trembling with fear, waiting to enter the dragon's mouth, while the fortunate one on the right path, the right road, is invited into a blooming, splendid garden full of fruit. Remember, the dragon's mouth opens up into a door onto a splendid garden full of fruits, which is paradise. And the lion becomes a servant. Lion is death. And the unfortunate one's heart is being pounded by an awful terror and grievous fear, while the fortunate one is gazing at and observing strange things as a delightful lesson with a pleasant fear and loving knowledge. So one is dread, the fear that he feels, is an awful terror and a grievous fear, because nothing has meaning and everything can only remind him of any time you can die or a beloved can die. The fortunate one is gazing at the same thing, but for him, all these strange things have meaning. They remember they are samples of the real, original blessings of paradise. They speak about their maker and make him known. So they are a delightful lesson. And there may be also events and things that engender fear within us, but it's a pleasant fear because there is no, because you know the meaning and you know that all these things are under the control of an all-wise and merciful sustainer. So the fear is pleasant. It's almost like an excitement or a reminder for something else, a reminder to renew our intention and loving knowledge. Also, the miserable one, the one on the left, is suffering torments in desolation, despair, loneliness. However much you are with people, if there is transience and there is no future, there is nothing to look forward to, the human soul will feel loneliness, because at the end of the day, we experience the world ourselves and there is no true belonging, because we're truly, if there is no source of existence that we all come from and we are all going back to, then there is no true connection and relationship between any of us or anything. And so there is true alienation and loneliness. So he experiences torments in desolation, despair, loneliness, while the fortunate one is enjoying himself full of hope, longing, and a sense of belonging. You belong because everything, we are all siblings, we are all fellow creatures, fellow everything around us, fellow worshippers, fellow glorifiers of God, praising God, not only human beings, but all the creation. They all are here speaking to us, reminding us, showing us the way. Everything is like one family and bound by the same goal and the same purpose and the same truth and the same beautiful names. So there is a longing of going to the eternal, permanent home, and a sense of belonging to everything. There's an affinity, a connection, a relationship, a deep relationship, a soul relationship with everything, not only everyone, but everything. Furthermore, the unfortunate one sees himself as a prisoner subject to the attacks of wild beasts. I mean, for the ruh, it's like a prison, because however much we find ourselves in a place or in conditions that are favorable, we know that it will end. And that knowing makes it like a prison here and now. While we are enjoying it, there is like, as Imam Nursi says somewhere else, it's like honey, but the honey itself is poisoned. It's not only once it ends, it becomes, we feel it even more. But even at the beginning, deep down, we know that this is passing. Not only it's passing, but it doesn't have a true meaning, because the soul looks for permanence, for lastingness, for So even if there is friendship, if there is love, there is beauty, because they are not grounded in anything permanent, they become almost, again, Imam Nursi says, like the opposite. The more beautiful something is, the more it hurts. It becomes ugly. Why? Because it's okay to lose something that is not very valuable, but the more something is valuable, the more it pains us and hurts us at the thought that we are going to lose it and there is no way out of that. So it is like a prison. So he sees himself as a prisoner, subject to the attacks of wild beasts, because all events, especially when they are not, where they are crisis event, hardships, like it becomes even more worse than when there is beauty and there is something likable. Because now, why do we even have to go through this hardship that are meaningless? And so it's like wild beasts attacking us, while the fortunate one is an honored guest who is on friendly terms and enjoying himself with the strange servants of his generous host. So they have different interaction, different perception, and different experience, because not only the believer is seeing or knows that he is an honored guest and he is on friendly terms of the rest of creation. So the creation is also going to respond to him in a different way. So it will be a totally different experience. Also, and we can't know that until we ourselves, how is it going to happen? When we go through it ourselves, then we will experience, and it will be miracle upon miracle upon miracle. And it goes back to the hadith that was mentioned earlier in the text, أَنَا عِنْدَ ظَنِّ عَبْدِي بِي. I am as my worshipper expects me to be. So if my worshipper expects good from me, he will experience goodness. If they experience, without realizing often, if the more we expect hardship and ugliness, the more we will experience exactly that. Either it's truly ugliness, or even if others won't see the ugliness, we will be stuck and focused on the ugliness only. So it depends on the situation. Also, the unhappy one is hastening his torments by indulging in fruits which are apparently delicious, but in fact poisonous. So there are situations where it looks good, but if you indulge in it, then it's poisonous. It's poisonous for the heart, it's poisonous for the spirit, it's poisonous for our eternal life. For the fruit, because the fruits are samples. These fruits, the things, the good things of this life, are samples. There is permission to taste them so as to seek the originals. The originals, of course, are with God. They are permanent. They are the source of them, the beautiful names of God, and become customers for them. So once you taste, you sample them, you understand the meaning, you understand the source, and you seek the permanent one instead of holding onto the transient, the sample, and looking for satisfaction from it. So the poison part could be different situation, but one of them could be that just the delusion, the expectation, the false expectation of trying to expect goodness, to expect happiness, to expect joy, to expect fulfillment from something that is itself created, that it is self-transient and impermanent, making it into an idol. We talked about idol when we talked about an Eid, the bake. That's the way of making it into an idol, into a God, but it's not. It's not a God, and it can't fulfill our expectations of it. So we will be doomed to be, what was the word I was looking for? We will be doomed to not have any response from them. We will have no lasting fulfillment from them. And that in itself is hurtful. It's very painful, especially to the human soul. The heart will feel the pain. You're trying more and more and more, and it's just like we are told in the Quran, like a mirage. When you get there, there is nothing. It's just a delusion, because it cannot create anything. It itself is being sustained. It itself is being made. But there is no permission to devour them like an animal. So they are here only to taste them, to understand their true purpose of being here, and to have a true relationship that is permanent, that looks to Akhirah, that looks to the beautiful names. And we understand that they are here to make their creator, our sustainer, known to us, and not to indulge in them and devour them like an animal, like just for bodily, physical fulfillments, like an animal, not for, there is no deep meaning, there is no lasting meaning that looks to the heart and the soul, to our true humanity. But the fortunate one tastes them and understands the matter, that they are here to be tasted, and that we are to become customers for the originals, to seek the original and become customers for the original that are with God here and now, that pertains to the beautiful names. And he postpones eating them and takes pleasure in waiting for the true, how do you say, meeting in the hereafter, in eternal life. Here, everything is a friend, is a reminder, is a messenger, is, otherwise they become like sources, they become idols, and that leads to, we make them into poison. And of course, you can take this into the details of how things become poisonous in personal life, individual personal life and social life, when people follow this path and indulge in all kinds of activities and that are poisonous for the individual, even here in this world, because they will never reach that fulfillment they are seeking. And it breeds many, many social illnesses at all kinds of levels. Moreover, the unfortunate one is wronging himself. This is something that is repeated in the Quran, that when we are in shirk, when we are disconnected to our sustainer, to God, then we end up wronging ourselves. Through his lack of discernment, he's making a truth and a situation which are as clear and bright as daylight into a dark and oppressive fear, into a hellish delusion. Everything is clearly showing and indicating something beyond this world, yet because he has no intention to look there, he ends up, so there is an ego here, because it's only to the extent that we let go of that ego, the ego that has the delusion of existing on its own, like it's my life, maybe I was created, I don't deny God, but like, what is it to me? Right now, it's my life. I live as I want, I dress as I want, I behave as I want. It's me, my life, I do whatever I want. Is it true? Is it our life? And do we know how to, if it's my life, okay, you do whatever you want. But if it's not, if I acknowledge that it is being given to me here and now, then truly, I have no idea how to take care of this life, this body, all these faculties. Remember, the sixth word was about how to use our faculties for akhirah, for the purpose of their creation. I have no idea how to use them in the optimum way. And the example that I gave is like, if someone 100 years ago, who lived 100 years ago, we give him a laptop that we have now, that person may not even open the laptop and says, okay, this is a tray. It's not even a very good tray because it doesn't have handles on the sides. But it will never occur to him that even without internet, this has so many, you can write, you can design Excels, forms, all kinds of things. You can have even some programs if you're an architect, or all these kinds of things. All libraries may be loaded into your laptop, and this and that. And that person has no clue about it. So it's the same with this human life, this human body. It is decked with so many abilities that are given to us, not only to live life like an animal, but or like a more, intelligent animal, just building buildings and I don't know, technology and things, but has no deep meaning, doesn't have, everything ends with death, doesn't have that's not what we were created for. Even those findings and have a deeper meaning. We were not given all this. It's like, if you remember in the sixth word, even the tongue, for instance, the tongue could have just the ability to taste few tastes, but no, it tastes such a huge variety. We can taste a huge variety of tastes and differentiate them and remember them for a long time. And they are associated with pleasure, with comfort, with fear, maybe, with why is it so? If it was only for the sake of growing, as I always say, like when we are in need of growing the fastest as babies, there is only one type of food. So clearly we could have only one type of food and we would live on it and grow very fast, and it would be milk or something similar. But we have all these varieties of fruit, vegetables, all kind of berries and all these things. are not enough, we go and cook them, and we combine them, and we decorate them, and we have the eye to differentiate the colors and the smells and the forms, and to delight in them. And we have this tongue and this, we smell, we see, all this cannot be just for feeding the body. And especially that we also have a mind, we can reason, and we have a heart, we feel, and we have consciousness, we have awareness, we wonder, we have awe when we see something so complicated, so beautiful, something coming out of soil and suddenly growing into a beautiful flower, and that flower suddenly becomes a fruit or a vegetable. Subhanallah. But we never ask about this, and we say, we give it a name, and we pass. I have more important things to do. What important things are there? So where was that? So the unfortunate one is wronging himself through his lack of discernment. He's making a truth and a situation which are as clear and bright as daylight into a dark and oppressive fear, into a hellish delusion. So it is a delusion. He does not deserve pity, nor does he have the right to complain to anyone. After all these signs within us, in the world, and this part, there is not only pleasure and joy, but also pain. The pain is also calling us back, stop, what are you doing? And there, all these messengers, the prophets and the messengers in the creation of the signs in the creation, and we have God speaking to us directly, like in the Quran. If we still don't take any of this seriously, or if we say, okay, I'm a Muslim, the Quran is my sacred book, and then never stop, pause, and reflect seriously, then, okay, we have no one, we are wronging ourselves, and we have no one to complain about or to accuse except ourselves. He does not deserve pity, nor does he have the right to complain to anyone. For example, so he's saying why he doesn't have the right to complain to anyone. If a person at a pleasant banquet in a beautiful garden in summer among his friends make himself drunk through filthy intoxicants, then he imagines himself hungry and naked in the middle of winter among wild animals, and he starts shouting out and crying. He does not deserve to be pitied. He did it himself. He is wronging. So here, the intoxicant is the intoxicant of the delusion of being disconnected to who we are, the disconnection of reality, and as a result, the disconnection from our sustainer. But it's first a disconnection with our own reality of being sustained here and now. That's this intoxicant of the I do, I know, my life, my this, my that. He is wronging himself, and he's insulting his friends. His friends here in the world are the whole creation that are accompanying us in this journey towards eternity. His friends, by imagining them to be wild beasts. Thus, the unfortunate brother is like this, but the fortunate one sees the truth, and the truth is good. Through perceiving the beauty of the truth, the fortunate brother is being respectful towards the truth's owner. So towards the truth's owner and towards everyone else who is here to remind us of that truth. So he deserves his mercy, the mercy of the sustainer, the truth owner. Thus, the meaning of the Quranic decree, know that evil is from yourselves and good is from God, becomes clear. So in the Quran, we are told in Surah Nisa, Surah 4, Ayah 79, ما أصابك من حسنة فمن الله وما أصابك من سيئة فمن نفسك. Whatever good happens to you, to thee, like you, one person, is from God, and whatever evil befalls thee is from thyself, from yourself. If you make a comparison of other differences in the same way, you will understand that the evil commanding soul and nafs al-amara, which is the ego at its, that has not yet accepted any reality, that is still totally self-deluded. The evil commanding soul of the first brother has prepared a sort of hell for him, while the good intention, the goodwill, the good character, the good thoughts of the second brother, the other, have allowed him to receive abundant bounty, blessings, and experience true happiness and prosperity. And prosperity is falah, is again and again associated with iman in the Quran, and display shining virtue. So before we start the last one, where we are told what the symbolism means, maybe if you can, or if you would like to make comments, ask questions, share your thoughts, inshallah.
السلام عليكم يا مينا. السلام عليكم everyone.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
As you were talking, the mid-month moon of Muharram has been like rising and very clear. And what comes to my Mubarak, Muharram Mubarak, and mid-Muharram Mubarak.
Muharram the 11th, by the way.
Yeah.
Today was Ashura.
So, yeah, and just looking at this beautiful moon, what comes to my mind is the Prophet's call on the moon, Rabbi wa Rabbukallah. And it reminded me of the brother who like realized that there is an owner. Not only does he realize that Rabbi wa Rabbukallah, your Rabb and my Rabb are Allah, is Allah for what is good, but also when something goes bad, and this is what's new to me, is that we should use the same phrase, don't worry. Like I should calm myself by saying, like, talking to whatever is worrying me and say, Rabbi wa Rabbukallah. It's the same phrase. It's the same owner, like not only the owner of all the beauty around me, but also the owner of anything around me. If it looked scary, something looks comforting and beautiful, it's easy to say Rabbi wa Rabbukallah. But what we're learning here also is when something looks scary and unfamiliar, to keep saying Rabbi wa Rabbukallah. And like earlier today, I read a cognitive psychiatrist comment about when something negative happens, like you need like 9 times something positive to wipe it out. So in reverse, what I was thinking, like that you were saying, we are always reminded to stay in gratitude, to stay in Alhamdulillah, to savor Alhamdulillah, to savor Rabbi wa Rabbukallah in abundance and in ease. And by the way, Dr. Amina is gonna comment tomorrow on El Jamil, so please join us. But to savor that 9 times, so that when the one time hits that it's unfamiliar or it's uncomfortable, you can face it with the same Rabbi wa Rabbukallah, because you have already worked on those 9 times. You've already worked. So like, you need to choose to, like you said, if you don't choose, then you're choosing fear, then you're choosing scarcity, but you need to choose to be aware of the abundance and the beauty, and to be aware of the Creator's presence in all what's good, so that when all what looks good, because everything is good, or all what feels good, because there will be a time when it does not feel that way, or it feels unfamiliar, then your whole faith tank, love tank, hell tank is already filled with that. So then you can say now, Rabbi wa Rabbuk Allah, like, I'm not alone. Whoever owns me owns you. We're owned by the same owner. So there must be mercy and wisdom in this, but I just don't see it. Will come then, and only then. So Jazakallah khair, Yamina, for keeping again and again reminding us to stay in that state. And congratulations for Ashura. Today was Ashura. As you reminded us, may Allah accept our prayers to be saved, just like you were reminding me. I was telling you today, I think, or yesterday, that this is Ashura is the day that God saved Moses from the oppressors. But you said, but it's also the same day that God saved Noah from the oppressors. Moses, God saved him from the oppressors, and he opened up the sea in a miraculous way. And Noah, God saved him by also carrying his ship in the sea. So one time Moses and the believers walked through the sea on their feet, walking through the sea, and the other time God created this savior, this ship. So my prayer now, with this understanding of the eighth word, that may what's happening in the world around us that is disturbing our hearts and not sitting well with any of us, may we realize that it's owned by the same owner who brings beauty and abundance, and that just like today came to remind us that when people thought there's no saving, God saved them. When there was like no water, like where Noah was putting his ship, which is working on his belief, God created water, and that ship then sailed. And when there was no way to go through water with the people of Moses, God created a path within the water. So to keep working and to believe that whatever is happening has a Rabb, and it's the same Rabb of me, and there's wisdom and mercy in spite of all what looks appalling, heart-wrenching. So may Allah save everyone who is oppressed in the world, just like He saved all those that have been saved before. Jazakumullah khair. I've been speaking too much.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Dr. Alia, for this point of 9 good things to erase the memory. Correct me, please, of something negative. Right?
Yeah, that's what I understood from the. Yep.
So it brings us back to the point of creating a register. And this register where Yamina, a lot of the times reminded us to think and milk a moment of gratitude. So now I'm relating it to what you said, to the study you mentioned of 9 good things, to maybe not quite erase, but perhaps to replace the power or the impact of a negative encounter. For some reason, I'm really resonating with that. I'm not a digital person, but for some weird reason, I do respond to this as though it's a promise. And in fact, there are many areas in the Quran where one good deed is equal 10, whereas one bad deed is just 1. Or one good deed is at least 10 good deeds multifold. So this whole idea of a number and a it's quite actually inspiring and shall I say promising, both inspiring and promising, because it says, for me at least, it's as though, all right, I I know there's this one negative thing, and even though it can be really overwhelming, but there is a way to address it. And the minimum of which is to engage in good deeds, is to engage in gratitude, it's to engage in blessings, is to engage in a perspective, not necessarily if somebody's feeling disempowered or helpless regarding action, not necessarily exclusively action, even though thought management is also, we can argue, is also an action. So I wanted to just say that this does, I find it inspiring what you said, Alia, because there is a number and it's as though, it's promising. All right, I can come up with 9 positive things to replace 1 negative things. It's doable. It's not beyond human, because 9 or 10 are not 9 million for me. 9 or 10 or even 20, they are not 20 million. They are not eternity. There is no eternity of pain. There's no eternity of anything except with God. But when we're overwhelmed, it does feel like eternity. It does feel like endless. So it's good to put a cap on it and to say, no, it's actually manageable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do have a question.
And Yamina I'll just comment quickly. Yamina reminds us, when you put that one in front of your eye and focus on it, you don't see anything else. But if you move it away, you will see the other 9 around it very easily. So you'll see the other blessings around it. It's just like just taking it away and putting it in perspective.
Which is very challenging. I mean, gaining a perspective is challenging during the moment. That's why the moment of affliction, the moment of difficulty is very important and critical, because this is the moment when we need to be prepared to rise up and to choose, and and to calm ourselves down. It's a very critical moment at the moment, not after. I mean, of course, it's okay if somebody loses it at the moment and then regains their composure and returns to God. But the test is at the moment of difficulty, where it gets overwhelming, where you don't see, where you can't even see. Your vision is impaired a lot of the times. So you don't just see the one in front of your eyes that Yamina and Alia refer to, but you don't see much of anything. You're just consumed at a moment of difficulty by whatever negative feeling or fear or hurt or whatever, or pain.
I
Thanks.
have a question.
Yeah. Just one remark on what Maha said about the numbers not being 20 millions and things. Thank you for reminding everyone of that. That's really important. About the being overwhelmed in time of crisis, we're all only overwhelmed because we have not done the work in other times. Believe me, if you do, the more we do the work, the more we become familiar with this way of being, the way of the believer, the way of the brother on the right path. In times of crisis, we won't be so overwhelmed. We'll be less and less overwhelmed. We'll be more and more inspired. The lapse, the interval between coming back to our senses and seeing things differently will become shorter and shorter until it becomes like almost instantaneous. So please do the work in times of when it's more peaceful, until it becomes familiar, because as Maha said, yes, if we have not done the work, then it's very difficult at that critical moment. Yes, please, someone.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, my beloved sisters. Okay, my question is, it's related to something that actually comes up in the text later on, in which Imam Nursi radiallahu anhu, he points out that, the brother on the left, one key difference between the brother on the left and the brother on the right is that the fortunate one is following the principle of taking what is good and leaving what is bad. And I have been thinking about this all week long, since last time, and asking myself if that's what I do in life. And I am suspecting that sometimes I am not doing that. I'm suspecting that my perception of life, what I'm suspecting is that when I feel pain, that pain is telling me about a perception that I have about my existence and ultimately about my creator that needs healing or needs repair. And it's not that I haven't already tasted the love and the mercy and the goodness and the compassion. I have tasted it, and I know that it is wonderful, but sometimes the pain still comes up. And so then I ask, why is the pain here? Is it because, and usually it's related to some injustice that I have felt or seen. And sometimes I think this is an injustice and I need to do something about it. And that's why I still feel this pain. And then other times I think, no, there's more work that needs to be done and getting to know God. And then this pain will be less and less. But the one thing that always catches me is, am I being taken for, am I being like, if I say I'm going to push away, or I'm going to reinterpret, I'm going to take this pain as telling me that the evil is, that this pain, this evil, this is related to a perception that's evil and that is from myself and that must be wrong. And I'm going to take the perception which I feel ease and which I feel trust. The problem is that I still don't trust. I think that, well, it's possible that I'm being tricked and that this pain is actually telling me about some injustice that I need to address. And then I get caught there, and and then I don't know which way the guidance is. But today, as I was hearing the above, that the evil is from me and the good is from God, it felt as if that is telling me that the message of my feelings inside and my desires, the one that where I feel the ease and the peace, is the one I should follow, and let go of the feeling that there's some injustice that I need to address. So that's where I am, and I'm wondering if you could just shed more light, more wisdom on what it truly really means on the internal side, on the inside, to follow the good and to leave the bad.
That's a good question. It's a reference to something that we have not read yet, by the way. I'm looking at the time, and maybe we will leave the discussion for this point for next week, inshallah. But if there is pain or fear or anything, there are always two, as you said, like that could be my own misperception, my delusion. And it could be there is truly something going on there. And if there is truly something going on there, I may be called to address the situation and the least I could do is to pray. That's also an inner action. And the more we pray, the more we may be inspired to take an action that will have fruits in this world and the next. Now, it's only when we pause and become aware that, for instance, if it's pain, it is not my pain. I am feeling pain, but this pain is a messenger. It's a guest. And I intend to listen to it. Only then, when we take that step of detaching, that step is a step not only that gives us a space and perspective to look at the pain and listen to its message more, not objectively, but not from a space of the ego, because when we are saying it's my pain, I'm feeling pain, why is this going on? I'm coming from a space of ego, of me, I don't like what's going on. For instance, it's an injustice, it makes me uncomfortable. I dislike injustice. Why is this happening? It should not have been happening. But when I see pain as a messenger, and I receive it as a messenger, and I say, Salam alaikum, I'm listening to you in the name of the wise and all-merciful creator and sustainer, then I'm already taking a step back from that ego way of being. And now it will be easy to know, is it coming from my own misperception? I'm deluded about what's going on, or there is truly something genuine going on there. If there is something genuine going on there, it won't be like I dislike this, but whoever created this is also inviting me to take a stand about it. So it's very different. So for me, even for physical pain, my first response is, this is coming, this is a guest. So there is no, like, you shouldn't be here. Pain, like, I don't like pain. You shouldn't be here. What are you, as if? Like, it's like pain. And I don't always understand why it is there. But just staying with it and welcoming it, sometimes I get inspired with a meaning, sometimes that seems to be unrelated, but apparently it had an effect on me. And sometimes nothing comes to my heart. I'm not inspired with anything, but lo and behold, that pain just goes. So whether it has fulfilled its purpose or not, my attitude towards it is, you are here for a purpose. I welcome you. You're a friend. I'm willing. I surrender to the wise, compassionate creator. I'm willing to listen to you. And sometimes when I don't understand, just please make it clear, because Ya Rabbi, make it very clear for me. I may not understand everything, but it's not I am in pain. I dislike what is going on. I dislike that my foot is painful, for instance. I dislike that this situation is going on. I am the judge. I am the one. No, I'm not the source on anything. How did we even know that this is an injustice and that injustice is dislikable? How did we know? We didn't buy it in the store. Whoever is creating us now is creating us with that feeling. It could be that I am misinterpreting the whole situation, and therefore I'm seeing it as an injustice when it may not be, or it could be a real injustice. I can only understand that when I am not in that space of the ego, inshallah. I will be inspired with the action or whatever. And in the beginning, it may take a while until we get used to, but if we carry on, we will get familiar to receiving the message, and we receive the message in different ways, as feeling, as an image, as words, as suddenly we're reminded of something, maybe a text in the Quran, maybe something that we came across before, whatever. Inshallah, there will be an answer. Because we are made to dislike injustice. We are not the one who know. And if we think we are the one who, then we are in big trouble, because then it will be, I dislike injustice. Hey God, Hasha, why are you creating this? I am like, I would not have created this. How can you be so compassionate and you create this? As if, Hasha, where did you get that dislike from? Whoever has created me is creating that in me. So the question won't be blaming. It won't be blaming and accusing God's wisdom and compassion, but it would be more curiosity, asking, but genuinely trying to understand and listening, because you create this and you make me dislike it. What could be the wisdom of this mystery? That's a talisman. That's a mystery. That's a something that needs to be solved. It is a mystery. However, don't try to solve mysteries for other people, because we cannot put ourselves in other people's shoes and experience the world from their perspective. We don't know if they are in that situation, if they are in the left brother, the brother on the left, or the brother on the right. I can only do it for myself. And I can pray for others. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much.
Yamina, this point of mystery is crucial. It's absolutely crucial. And I don't think it's been emphasized enough. And I would like you to talk about it a little more, because we tend to want to flatten something and reduce it and reach a quick answer, which is understandable. I do this all the time, but much to my loss, because if I'm missing the mystery in something, then by definition, I'm missing the depth and the richness and the the promising dimensions, the deeper dimensions in it. So whether now or later, if you could focus on the mystery, because this might help to remove us from the what's the word, the reflexive reaction to fix something quickly, like a quick fix.
Inshallah, you can remind us, inshallah, next week. I think today we are coming to the end. If anyone wants to share, to comment.
There's chat box, and I want to welcome our new friend. We have a new friend, I want to encourage all our friends, everybody who's joined us, to feel free to unmute and speak, to write in the chat. You're all welcome, and your opinions and comments and questions are valuable.
Assalamu alaikum, sisters.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum, Nina. I was listening to you. I like what you are saying, but I don't see is any time we have pain, some kind, any types of pain, we can deal with this wisdom to welcome them. Or like I want to give you example, like depression, someone in a situation in depression. How can someone in depression welcome this pain? I went through depression and I know this is very different. This is a painful, and I was thinking to that. You are talking and I'm thinking to that moment I was going through depression. I'd say, if I say to myself, welcome depression, was it possible for me to maybe to see something what Allah wants me to know at that moment? I was just thinking.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this up, Latifa.
Okay.
We are not talking about someone in depression. We are talking about someone who is already in the path and seeking a seeker, and someone who is actively applying or striving to apply these principles into their life. Now, if someone is in depression, it's going to be a totally different story. Now, we're not talking here about this kind of, yeah. But if someone is in depression,
yes,
I would say the first thing is start with gratitude. However hard it is, start with something. So I'll tell you something that many years ago, someone in depression, I had told that person, you know, just focus on something to be grateful for. And the person said, there is nothing I feel grateful for. I cannot feel the gratitude even. And then I said, like, the only focus on this only and write it down. A few days later, because she was really like for many years, she'd been in that state for many, many years and like was fed up with it. She said, you know, I started writing, instead of I'm grateful for something, I am grateful that I am not homeless, for instance. You see what I mean? In the negative. She could only think of things, for instance, I am not, I don't know, I don't have cancer. That's the only thing she could write for a while, and she couldn't write much. After a while, she started writing instead. So I said, after a while, I said like, but she was, mashallah, carried on. Instead of saying, I am not homeless, can you write, I am grateful for this home? Because in the beginning, she could not. She said, I don't feel anything that I have this home. I don't feel grateful. So, but after a while, because she said, I'm grateful that I'm not homeless, after a while, she could write, I am grateful that I have a home. I have a roof. She couldn't even say home. A roof over that this house has warmth, that I have food, because before she only could say that I am not hungry, that I can afford food. And after about 6 months, she started writing more things. They become more positive. And one day, a while later, I met her. She said, you know what? One day, I felt like I was living in a cloud, and that cloud suddenly disappeared.
Allah.
But it was, of course, she was, mashallah, like wrote every day something. She couldn't write 10, as I told her. She could only write 2 or 3. It was only negative. But I asked many people after that, and those who carried on, they all said that it made a huge difference. And afterwards, mashallah, it made, she knew that she started going out of her depression.
That's great.
Mhm.
Shukr.
Yeah. But start with anything, even a pen. I have a pen now. Or if you're speaking, she was speaking to me on the phone. I said, like, I'm grateful I have a phone where I can talk. She said, I can't say that and I can't feel that. Okay, whatever you can do, start there. And the more we focus on something to be grateful for, the more the other, we don't have to deal with the other negativity. It will fade, even if it's still there, like what Alia was referring to. If I take a small book or a phone and put it in front of my eyes very close, I will see only the phone, and the whole room, I won't see it. That's the negativity when we are stuck into something. We find ourselves there. Now, in order to go out of that hell, that way of being, we start focusing on something to be grateful. It means slowly, we are taking that phone away from our eyes and start focusing on other things into the room until we put the phone on the table. The phone is still there. The thing that may have caused us to be in that state may be still there, but a phone in front of my eyes, there is only that. But a phone into the room is huge next to the phone. So it becomes one small part of my life. And when I start going out and serving, the second after gratitude, my second prescription is serving others, serve your community in any way, either speaking, reminding them, smiling, cleaning, maybe going cooking, feeding. The more you serve others, the more we get that perspective, that distance, where that phone, that thing that made us depressed, starts becoming smaller and smaller, because now we are out of the room. Even in the room, the phone was small. Now we are out of the world and into the room and into the world. And we will start seeing how people have, sometimes we find that what we made a big deal of is not that big next to what's going on in the world. So gratitude. And gratitude then becomes afterwards our way. We become so familiar with it. It becomes, but in the beginning, it's going to be just few things. It's okay. So yeah, a state of depression or something is not what we are talking about now, inshallah.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Maybe someone can share what's in the chat and we can end up, inshallah. Zahra?
Sorry, I was trying to find my unmute button. Yes, inshallah, let me see. Okay, someone said, I like this topic and how it relates to the 8th word we just read too. It is true, even in bad moments, there are always endless good things. To account for that can remind us all of our blessings. I resonate with that too. Someone said, so assuring. And in response to that previous comment, Sister Maha said, yes, and the challenge lies within that hair, that second in which we could make a choice to turn towards the blessing. Panic versus blessings, positive versus bad, overwhelming feelings versus calm, getting consumed versus moving towards God, perhaps. And our last comment says, I look forward to reading on that topic and next week. This was a really valuable discussion to me. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Mina. A great note to end on.
Thank you, Zahra. Thank you, everyone. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. May you all stay well, inshallah, until next week if we're still in this world. Let's pray and pray for each other, inshallah. And for all, everyone else in the world, we don't have to know them. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair.